Don't worry, Peter. Once the dollar implodes and everything starts to default, people are just going to switch to a Bitcoin standard. The international trading system is just going to be based on Bitcoin, right?
Well, that's what a lot of Bitcoin diehards want people to believe, and some of them actually believe it themselves. But again, I think they're trapped in their own bubble, and they're living in a state of delusion. I don't see the world grasping a Bitcoin. To me, Bitcoin is just a fiat token. I mean, it's not created by government, but its value is derived in the same way that fiat currency derives its value. It's all from confidence. It's all from faith. But, there's over 20,000 cryptocurrencies out there that you could choose from. And, the supply of these things continues to grow. I mean, sure, there's supposedly 21 million Bitcoin, but fundamentally, what's the difference between Bitcoin and those other 20,000 tokens that have no intrinsic value and you can't do anything with them? Meanwhile, you could break a Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshis. So there's 2.1 quadrillion of these Satoshis. I mean, in reality, since I can't do anything with a Satoshi, I can't do anything with 100 million Satoshis. All I could do is hope the price goes up because I think there's a greater fool who's going to pay more than I did. But all these greater fool schemes always fail. You run out of fools, and the last fool is the bag holder. And personally, I think Bitcoin topped out at, 69,000. I don't think it's going to make another new high. I think the next big move in Bitcoin is going to be below 10,000. I think it's ultimately going much lower than that. But I still think there's a lot of leverage in Bitcoin, a lot of margin calls that have yet to be made, and I don't think they'll be met. I think there's going to be a lot of forced selling. I think the price is going a lot lower. Those institutions that got suckered into Bitcoin, I think, regret it. The ones that avoided it, I think, are glad that they dodged the bullet. And in fact, if you go back and look at 2021, the year that Bitcoin peaked, look at all the massive hype during that year from all of these, advertisements, CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg. I mean, these huge Madison Avenue, very slick commercials for Bitcoin companies all over television, nonstop. They even had like 3 or 4 ads at the Super Bowl, kind of like in 2000. They had a lot of .com companies that are out of business that sprung for ads at the Super Bowl. You had the NFT craze. You had El Salvador jumping on board, making Bitcoin legal tender. You had all these conferences around the world promoting Bitcoin. You had all these major news commentators, going in on it. You also had celebrities, whether it was athletes or entertainers, signing on to promote this coin or that coin out there, to their Instagram followers or whatever they were doing. It was massive pump. But people are overlooking the dump. Despite all of that money spent to convince people to buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin went down. And so what people have to ask themselves is why? Who was doing the selling? Why did so much Bitcoin get sold into all this good news, into all this hype? And that's because the people that were hyping it up were the ones that were doing the selling. It was a massive pump and dump. And now you've distributed all this Bitcoin from stronger hands to weak hands. You have a lot of speculators that are now underwater. People paid $50,000, $60,000 for their Bitcoin. Now they're worth $23,000, $24,000. They have big losses. And I think when we crack down below 20,000 again, maybe we get down below 18,000, 17,000, whatever. It's just going to be a watershed, and people are going to throw in the towel, and the market is going to plunge. And I think people should take advantage of the sucker rally they've got right now and get out. I mean, a lot of people still have profits in these tokens. People bought Bitcoin 4, 5, 6 years ago, and they have big profits. Same thing with Ethereum. People should get out because otherwise the market's going to take those profits. Because at the end of the day, the only people that are going to walk away from this crypto bubble with anything to show for it are the people who sold. The people that hold and hope, the hodlers, they're just going down with the ship.
All right, final question, I'll let you go, Peter. You keep calling Michael Saylor out on Twitter. I'm just going to read one of these tweets. You said, on CNBC, Michael Saylor boasted that MicroStrategy's investment in Bitcoin was a screaming home run for shareholders. MicroStrategy is currently down about $1 billion on its Bitcoin investment. If Saylor considers that a huge loss, screaming home run, I hate to see what he considers a strikeout. Okay, if Michael Saylor were here today, what would you say to him?
Well, first of all, I'm willing to debate Michael Saylor, and a lot of people have tried to organize debates. You can do it, but he's turned down every request to debate me, and I've accepted every one. So because he won't, face me, I kind of, do it on Twitter, and he will respond to my tweets. So he'll debate me on Twitter, but not, in a format where we actually can go back and forth. But I think it's really ridiculous that he's still claiming that this investment was a success. What he's doing is he's looking back at what Bitcoin was when they bought the first Bitcoin. It's like, well, we're making money on our first purchase. Okay, you can't cherry pick your first purchase. What about all the other purchases that were higher up? You can't do that. You got to look at the totality and add up all your purchases. Are you ahead or behind? And they're way behind. Now, he's also claiming that the price of MicroStrategy stock has actually gone up since they started buying Bitcoin. And that is probably the case. And that's because you got a bubble in MicroStrategy. It's very overvalued. And to the extent that a MicroStrategy shareholder takes advantage of that and sells all their MicroStrategy stock, then I guess it would be a benefit if that rise is attributable to this foray into Bitcoin, even though they lost $1 billion by doing that. If the market has somehow increased the valuation of Bitcoin, of MicroStrategy based on that dumb wager, well, then that's an opportunity for shareholders to sell. But the shareholders who don't sell, who continue to hold, eventually the price of MicroStrategy shares is going to crash. And it's going to be way below where it was when they first started to buy Bitcoin. All right.
Well, Peter, you've been very generous with your time today. I thank you for your generosity and your thoughts. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching Kitco News. I'm David Lin.